Hi, everyone. Welcome to Remote Learning. This is Mr. Sands for Career and Financial Management. So hopefully you saw my link and you're watching this video. Well, actually, not hopefully. You definitely saw my link and you're watching this video, or you saw it through Pupil Path or through the Google Classroom, whatever. And so today we're going to be talking about protecting yourself from fraud, and we're going to get into that for a moment. First, I just want to do some housekeeping and point out a couple of things that you need to know. First things first, when you sign in to the Google Classroom over here, what I need you to make sure that you're doing every day, every single day, is you go to the classwork section, and then if it's not already at the top, look for the attendance topic, and then just go to this Google form. All right, it'll look exactly like this, and all you need to do, all you need to do is put your email address. You need to put your first and last name. Please spell it correctly, and also the email address. It doesn't matter if you use your John Dewey High School or your personal. I just need some email address that I can send you read receipts. Uh, your OSIS number and the period 8, since you guys are my 8th period class. And then if you want, you can click that so that you can be sure that you sent it. It'll send you a receipt to your email address saying you've sent your response and submit. I need you to do this every single day between the hours of 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. so that I can mark you present for my class. Okay, now that we got that housekeeping out of the way, it's not going to be posted yet, but you will see. Well, actually, it will be posted yet. I just haven't posted it for you guys. You'll see in the Unit 7 section an assignment that, here, let me go back to the classroom. You'll see a new assignment called Protecting Yourself from Fraud that will have a doc that you can fill out uh, for your notes, and then there will also be a YouTube link, obviously, to this video. Hi. And if I can, I'll throw in another link that brings you to YouTube Live, where I'll be during the day to answer any questions if you have them. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get into the lesson. All right, protecting yourself from fraud. All right, so first question we need to ask ourselves is, what is fraud? Well, fraud is an intentional effort to deceive another individual for personal gain. All right, this can ruin your life, including you can get arrested for crimes you didn't commit because someone stole your identity or personal information and posed as you. You could have your finances damaged because they can take your money. Your credit report can get ruined if they're opening credit cards or taking out mortgages in your name. And in some cases, it can damage your health if you are, scammed into some sort of medical scheme. All right, so that is what fraud is. All right. Oh, and yeah, I probably should have put those on the screen. Also, I'm going to speak kind of slow. Feel free to do double time or to pause if I'm not speaking slow enough. And that way you can go through the video at your own pace. All right. So, what are some common types of fraud? Well, the first most common type of fraud you'll see is identity theft, which is when another's personal information is used without their permission. Another very common one is communications fraud, where people will use mass marketing or email, telephone calls to try to trick you into giving them personal information or, money directly. Um, the next common type of fraud will be credit fraud, where the thief will attempt to use your credit card number to make purchases, or you know, they'll use foreclosure assistance firms and claim that they can help struggling homeowners to save their home from foreclosure and lower their mortgage payments in exchange for some advance or monthly fee, which is just another way of them getting money out of you. There's also investment fraud, where investors are deceived by people that claim to be financial advisors into making bad investments that will ultimately make you lose your money and, well, make them gain. And then lastly, there's tax frauds, where scammers will often make claims that you can be exempt from filing tax returns or offering to file your tax return in exchange for your personal information, which will again allow them to do a bunch of stuff that you don't want. All right, next question we need to ask is, how does fraud negatively impact an individual's well-being? Well, obviously you're going to deal with a lot of stress because now you have uh, all this information of your own out there that is being used uh, without your consent. It will cost money because you are risking either getting money taken directly out of your account or having to pay off credit card debt that is accrued from other people using your information. Uh, you know, add some anxiety to your life and also a cost of time because then you have to contact your credit card companies. You need to contact any of the government um, services that will help you against fraud. And while obviously those government services are helpful, it takes time to contact them. All right. How does fraud occur? Oops. Fraud occurs when scammers take advantage of your willingness to trust other people. They usually start by building some form of trust with you by, making a promise, an easy promise that they can deliver on, and then, continuing to ramp up the requests and other things until eventually you've already given them all of your personal information, you've already invested quite a lot of money into them, and then they cut and run. All right. And the information that they're looking for typically is your name, maiden name, if you have one, or mother's maiden name, address and telephone number. Social security is something that you need to be very careful about giving out. Driver's license number, birth date, credit card numbers, bank account numbers. If they have this information, they can do a lot of harm. All right. Now, how do they what kind of personal information can they get? Well, they can get information from your driver's license. If you send them a picture of that, there's a lot of information right there. They can get information from your debit and credit cards. If you're careless with those, they can get your numbers and PIN numbers, and they can get into your accounts. If they have access to your phone, a lot of you store passwords on your phone or put everything all in one place. That's an easy way to lose your personal information or have it stolen, and any of your ID cards. All right. And thieves usually access this information either physically by stealing a purse, a wallet, financial records, or mail. By diverting mail, a lot of thieves, if they have enough of your personal information, they can fill out a form at the post office to reroute your mail to a new address. They'll change your mailing address, and there they'll just get your mail directly, and then they will look at bank statements if you have them sent physically. They can look at credit card statements, bills, and that's another way for them to get your information. Some of them will skim credit and debit card information if you are using it carelessly on the web, or if you are just careless about it out and about when you have your physical card. They'll try to scam you via email, like that classic, I'm a Nigerian prince, help me out kind of scam, or by hacking a computer to install spyware, which you typically don't have to worry about on your personal devices, but if you're, using a public one, that is something to keep in mind that someone can easily install spyware on a public computer. All right, well, how can we protect ourselves from fraud? All right. Oh, sorry. You're better off in a community by yourself because the government creates and manages agencies designed to protect you from fraud. But the best way to avoid it is to be alert so that if you notice the signs, you can contact those government agencies and then protect yourself even before that happens. All right, so how can you protect your personal information? Pardon me. One, don't carry your social security card. Keep it in a secure location and memorize your card number so that you don't have to carry it around with you whenever a legitimate organization requests it. All right. Sign your credit and debit cards, your physical cards, with a signature, and also just write on the physical card, please see ID. Uh, that way, if someone is trying to use this card out and about, a cashier will notice this and will request for your ID. And if you're using it, that's all well and good because you'll have your own ID. And if someone else is using it, well, that will that will be a step in the right direction towards preventing them from being able to use it. All right. Memorize and use difficult PIN numbers. I keep a bunch of memorized numbers in my head, and that's a great way of doing it because then if you're not writing it down, there's no chance that you're losing this PIN number and that other people can see it. Shred personal documents before discarding them. Don't just throw out your stuff in the mail. People can find that. People can look through your trash and get your information. Keep personal records in a secure location, a folder in a locked desk or some place where really only you have access to. Uh, Deposit outgoing mail in a secure post office collection box. There are a lot of ways that those blue or whatever color they are for you, those mailboxes that you see on a street corner can be tampered with, and mail can be fished out of those. So you might want to try one that, like a post office, where it's less likely to be tampered with, and also be careful of what personal information is posted on the internet, which hopefully you've heard this over and over again in the age of Twitter and Instagram, not to put all of your information out there. Even the first name, last name is a lot to put out, but just be careful not to put any like uh, really strongly identifying information, so as far as like address and phone number, personal phone number, and other things out there, because that can make you liable uh, to get scammed. All right. All right. You should be checking your credit reports to immediately dispute errors. You should evaluate the situations you are in. All right. If someone is requesting your personal information, verify that these sources are legitimate organizations. A quick Google goes a long way. All right. And then monitor your financial information. All right. So credit card statements, bank statements, anything that you are getting back from these institutions that you are normally hearing from, just make sure that everything checks out when you're looking through those statements. All right, so how can we be careful online? Make sure that when you are getting requests for sensitive information on the website, that the website has the HTTPS and a lock in the upper left corner of the site. If you look here on this window for the Google Doc that I sent out to you guys, you'll see that there is a lock right up here because this is an HTTPS. All right, that stands for um, well, the S instead of HTTP that you're used to seeing, the S stands for secure, and that's because HTTP, the way it sends information to and from servers, nothing is at all obscured. Everything is just sent in a form that is easily visible if someone's monitoring your web traffic. But if you use HTTPS, that protocol actually scrambles any information that's being sent to and from the server, so that if anyone is actually monitoring the data as it goes from your computer to the server and back, they have no idea what the information is actually saying. Only you and the server have the full picture. So something to keep in mind. Keep usernames and passwords safe. Try not to use the same password for every single thing that you have, because if one website gets compromised, a bunch of them do. And also try to use obscure usernames and passwords so they're not as easy to guess. Use a credit card when using online purchases. We'll talk about that again later, though we have talked about it in the previous lesson before coronavirus. Search for your name. Sometimes it's pardon me. Sometimes it's good to just Google yourself and keep yourself in the loop of what is being put out there about you. Once information is posted online, you can't take it back, so be very careful what you post. And use privacy settings on social networking sites. Uh, you know, a lot of people don't even think about this, but a lot of scammers can get your information just by not having your Facebook or Twitter or Instagram set on private. All right, you're not, most of you are not trying to build a social media presence, so most of you aren't trying to be like social media influencers. So it's much better for you to have private accounts because then people can't get your information. People don't know who it is that you speak to, who it is that you relate to, and they can't get that extra bit of information about you. Uh, just please be careful with that kind of stuff. All right. Oops. I think I went too far. Nope, I was right. All right, and then practice electronic device safety. Use updated antivirus and anti-spyware software because you can get those on the web if you're not careful. Watch for strange actions that might indicate spyware. And do not click on links found in pop-up advertisements or suspicious emails. All right. All right, so we were talking about credit cards and debit cards just a little bit ago, that you should be using credit cards for online purchases. And the main reason is this: you can get your information stolen for either of these things, but credit cards, you have far less liability. All right, maximum liability for credit cards is $50. So if someone makes $1,000 purchase with your credit card, uh, and you hadn't reported it lost before it was fraudulently used, the maximum that the credit card company can make you pay for that $1,000 purchase is $50. They front the rest of it because, well, the credit card companies know it's so easy to get these bits of information stolen that honestly, it costs much less for them to just give you that lower liability than for them to, hound you for the rest of that money. All right, debit cards, however, are not loans. They're not going through a credit card companies. This is not a line of credit being established. This is directly withdrawing from your own accounts from whatever bank or credit union or depository institution that you decide to use. So while some of them will have zero liability on those purchases and like, yay, that's great, a lot of them will, just say, well, tough. You had the stuff directly withdrawn from your account. There's nothing we can do about it. So whatever money that is stolen from you is stolen. That's it. So definitely want to use credit cards online because once you put it online, it's so much more likely to get stolen. And also, you know, if that does happen, and if you're careful, the maximum liability for your card being used against you is that $50 payment, which is much better than all of the money. All right. All right. So we have some fraud protection services that we will talk about in a little bit. But these are companies that offer various types of services like fraud monitoring and detection, cost recovery if fraud occurs, and legal counsel if fraud occurs, which we'll look into a little bit more later. But these do exist, and you can perform many of the services that a fraud protection service does at no cost if you just educate yourself on what to look for and who to contact should a problem arise. So honestly, I don't recommend you even bother with these, but you'll see them all the time. You see fraud protection services on TV commercials and ads where they're like, "Hey, we'll monitor your information," and if something doesn't look like it was done by you, or if something looks weird in your finances, or activity with your name and address and personal phone, uh, exists on the web that doesn't look like it's being directed by you, they can take care of it. But again, these are things that you can monitor on your own if you just educate yourself. Okay, so uh, act immediately If you realize that a business that has taken your money is not returning your calls, uh, high likelihood that that business is a fraudulent business. If unfamiliar or unrecognizable charges appear on any of your bank or credit card statements, if you are denied a line of credit from a bank or a credit union or just a credit card company, is high like that's usually not your fault. Unless you know it is, but it's usually not your fault, which means something dicey probably happened and your credit score was made lower by someone else. If your mail is missing, because that might mean that someone is redirecting your mail because they went to the post office and changed your mailing address, or if there are errors again in your credit report. Now, if you are a victim, act immediately, keep detailed records, file a report with your local law enforcement, and report to the appropriate federal agency, which we'll bring up in a second. There's also a website, the Stop Fraud website, which can tell you which agency to report to and give you tips depending on the type of fraud, which you can look at privately. All right. Now, last bit, there are seven uh, government agencies, most common government agencies that will help protect you from fraud. The Federal Trade Commission, which prevent business practices that are anti-competitive, deceptive, or unfair to consumers. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which makes markets for consumer financial products and services work for Americans. The FDA, Federal Drug Administration, which protects the public health and will stop, people from putting out, fraudulent things and marketing them as health services. The Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, which regulates interstate and international communications, so that it's less likely that someone will be able to pull off communication fraud. There is the U.S. Security and Exchange Commission, which protect investors and maintain fair, orderly, and efficient financial markets. The IRS, Internal Revenue Service, which enforce tax laws, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, which protects the United States and its citizens from this type of fraud, or from fraud in general. Whew. Okay, that's a lot, and I don't expect you to have all of these notes filled out today. I hope you do. But I'll give, in the instructions that I post tomorrow, I'll say, finish out these notes if you hadn't been able to finish it. And there'll be a small Google form with just, exit ticket questions, other things that I know you understand the information in this lesson. But there we go. We got through our first remote learning as a group. Great job. At the end of me speaking here, you're going to see a link in the video to a Discord channel that I'm going to use to further communicate with you guys. All of my classes are getting this Discord link, so there'll be a bunch of different things. I'll create topics for each class that I'm in. Just join it. You guys are the tech generation. You should have Discord. Some of you already have Discord working, to talk to your friends. And if not, it's super easy to download. It's just a quick app on the phone. And yeah, then we can have some great discussions about financial management and such. But great job, everybody. Don't forget to do the Google form for attendance. That's in the Google Classroom. Please make sure you're doing that. And yeah, that's all I've got to say. Bye.